Not Comic Sans.
We were using the Arbor for several years. We've switched.
That's one of my favorites.
Require a resolution of the board?
It was unilateral.
I asked.
Is this politically new?
No, what is it? Public Sans?
Public Sans.
Cool.
Autumn suggested.
Is that an open source fund?
Sorry. Whoa.
Some of them are better with so I'm with screen readers.
Yeah, I think that's what she was suggesting.
It looks clean and modern. I
Uh,
really like this noise band.
Take your time.
The editor has spoken. Keep in mind. I think we're coming around.
You're right there.
All right.
You're like
I'm
a
gonna,
shield.
when
I just never got
Yeah. I'm very entered these.
Sorry, I'm trying to close this one. My computer is in 20 times. It doesn't play a lot of those. It's really not one. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
Do that.
Are we good?
we're in.
Okay, let's stand for the pledge. Do we get the pledge?
Sorry.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a way of respecting, honoring, and creating awareness about our past, we begin our village board meetings by acknowledging that New Paltz is on the ancestral land of the Munsee, Esopus, and Lenape people. And if you all refer to the agendas and to our minutes, you can please see our ongoing list of bullet points of ways to support Indigenous communities. There are some links we hope you share with others and help us keep expanding the list.
Okay, a few changes to the agenda. Within the consent agenda, I'd like to add item number 1, accept Debbie Flynn's resignation from the Affordable Housing Board. Item number 3 to be added, our long-serving village planning board attorney, Rick Golden, and his firm also served the ZBA. He took a new job where I believe he's working for Orange County,
He's going to
right?
be our director.
And so his colleague Ashley is going to work with another colleague of hers, and we're going to use their firm. And Ashley Torrey has been actually very involved in ZBA and planning board stuff for some time. So we're adding that to the consent agenda. We'll miss Rick. He was very generous with his time, and I think many people learned a great deal from having him as our village attorney. So number 4B is the event application for the New Paltz School Play Fun Fair. And under the business agenda, we're adding a resolution about Arbor Day. And item number 4 is water sewer. And we're adding a letter C under water sewer regarding how we're using the American Rescue Plan funds that our community received or our village received.
Tim, I think 6B was also added on the consent agenda.
I missed one.
Yeah. Quote from
6D.
Hudson River. B is.
Oh, there it is. 6B is a quote from Hudson River Technologies for monthly cloud backup services and 24-hour ransomware mitigation services. Motion to, do you guys see any other tweaks, or I'm going to go ahead with a motion to approve the consent agenda and business agenda as amended?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And while we're at it, I'm going to motion to move the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody have an announcement to share?
Woodland Pond is having a blood drive on Thursday, May 5th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The address is 100 Woodland Pond Circle in the Art Studio. Also on May 5th, there's going to be a screening of National Museum by award-winning Ukrainian American filmmaker Andrei Zagdamsky. I hope I said that right. Explores the art and inner workings of the major art institute in Kyiv, and a question and answer to follow. And I think that, and it's at the Rosendale Theater at 7 p.m. And I think it's something that is going to be particularly timely and a way for us to learn about our brothers and sisters in Ukraine and maybe help us build compassion for them and want to help more.
Cool. I have some announcements too. So I found out today that actually April is Fair Housing Month in New York State. The state Senate passed a resolution. It was my first day back to work in a while, and that was a cool thing to learn. So as our Fair Housing Officer, I wanted to make some housing announcements. We have our Landlord Tenant Relations Council, always in search of volunteers. If you are a person who is a landlord or a tenant or neither, so if you're a person who lives here and wants to volunteer on housing issues, reach out. We'd love to have you. Also, a reminder to tenants to not self-evict, no matter what's going on with your housing situation. The only way people can get evicted is with a court order that's executed by the Ulster County Sheriff's Department. And also, the Riverkeeper Sweep is coming up on May 7th. So there's cleanups all up and down the Hudson River that day and its tributaries. We have one right here with Wallkill River Watershed Alliance. You do have to register in advance for all of them. So you can do that at riverkeeper.org/sweep. And as the person who rows the garbage barge every year, we are actually in search of 2 oars. So if anyone has 2 oars, let me know. I'll take really good care of them and return them at the end of that day. And there are free Narcan trainings all the time on the New Paltz Office of Community Wellness website. It's opioidpreventionnp.org, and there's a tab at the top that says Narcan training. Click that, and then you can watch the video, fill out the form that's linked there to receive your free Narcan kit. So if you missed any of the in-person on the spot trainings, you can still, get this life-saving, stuff and have it on hand and learn how to use it. Other harm reduction materials are always available to anyone, anywhere in Ulster County through the Ulster County Outreach Program. So they can actually provide things like Narcan, of course, drug test kits, and other harm reduction services. Call or text 914-6110-5324. And there's a hotline called the Never Use Alone hotline. So, I want to put that number out there in case anyone needs it. It's 800-484-3731. That's the Never Use Alone hotline.
I just have one announcement.
Oh, sorry. That's okay. I just wanted to add, just because it's specific to that the free food fridge often has test strips, so that you can make sure, I can't think of the word, it's a drug.
Narcan.
No, fentanyl test strips. Thank you. And that's at Village Hall. Outside Village Hall, it's open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
I just had an announcement regarding the Affordable Housing Board, which is seeking a new member for volunteering. It's the 4th Tuesday of every month is the meetings, and sometimes there are special meetings. So if anyone's interested in volunteering for the very important Affordable Housing Board, you can contact assistant at villageofnewpaltz.org.
Okay, we have, I'd like to motion to open the public hearing regarding the creation of the Downtown Historic District and the renaming of the Historic Preservation Commission. We would we're suggesting changing the name to the Design Review Board Historic Preservation Commission. So I know we received some letters. Oh, second on motion. All in favor? Okay. I know we received some letters in support. Do we have folks here in person who want to make a comment about this proposal? Well, did we receive 3 or 4 letters in support, Autumn?
We received 6 in support.
I'll see you.
I think Neil has his hand up. Oh,
Oh, Neil's here.
And Neil's here.
hi, Neil.
Hi, everybody. I'm here as a resident of Elting Avenue. And I'm voicing my support for the for changing the rules for this project as proposed. And if it does include Elting Ave, I know at one point it did. I haven't seen the latest. If that's in there or not, I'm also in support of that. I think it empowers the people and gives them a voice of committed volunteers on Historic Preservation Commission to help maintain the things that attracted them to New Paltz in the first place. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
Alan.
Alan Ross.
Hi, I'm also a resident of Elton Avenue and would like to voice my support for this action. I think it's a great idea. I couldn't overstate how much I feel it's important to protect some of the heritage of New Paltz, but also the integrity of the neighborhood, and to put some control on people who are just seeking to purely profit at the expense of the beauty and the historic meaningfulness of where we live. I just am so in favor of this and really appreciate all the hard work everybody's been putting in on making it happen.
Thank you, Alan. And why don't we just list the names of the individuals who wrote letters in support? We can share that publicly.
Sure. Orkland Stalgert, Davina Vora, Stephen Cook, William B. Rhodes, Josephine Bloodgood, and Linda Wells.
Avenue, Robbie Lynch and Brian Lynch, and we live on Works Avenue, so we just want to let you know that we're in support of it.
Oh, great. Thank you. And I find that you can't try to explain these things enough. So, if anyone is following along and unsure exactly what this law change involves, I can summarize it pretty quickly. So we've had a very effective and active Historic Preservation Commission, and they have existed for many, many years. And a few of us, primarily led by HPC Chair Tom Olson, have been brainstorming for some time about trying to come up with a design review process. We looked at what other communities considered, and some would have, thick volumes that included very specific design standards. But after chewing on, how this could work for years and discussing the concept at this table, I really appreciate where we ended up, because I think what we did will be, or our current proposal will be very effective in that all we're doing is taking the role and the responsibility and power of the HPC, and we're just making the map wider. We're not making any changes whatsoever in terms of their role, and I like describing it as almost free consulting. So when someone wants to make a material change to the exterior of their home, they know they need, to update siding or windows or something. And you have folks who enjoy this stuff and have a decent amount of professional and amateur expertise, and they're willing to sit with you and brainstorm and make suggestions. And I think it's it can work out very nicely. And it's not intended to make projects more expensive or more arduous. It's really to help people end up in a place where their property looks and feels in a way that would integrate best with the existing character within the village of New Paltz.
I would like to say that as someone who used to serve on the town planning board, I think it will actually save people time and money to get free advice and to know ahead of time what is expected of them, and not waste any time or money that way.
Yeah, so that's basically the concept in a nutshell. So we've received really positive feedback so far, but our board has tried to err on the side of leaving public hearings open longer than may have been done traditionally or historically. So I think parents from the newspapers here have report out on this. Hopefully, in addition to the legally required public noticing, folks will hear about it and read about it, discuss it on social media. Because oftentimes the community has feedback that maybe we didn't consider, and we're very open to making tweaks and listening to suggestions. But as of right now, the feedback's been super positive. So we're encouraged and in belief that we're on the right track.
If I may, I am at work. I don't have a camera here, so I can only talk. Can you hear me?
Just say where you're from and your full name.
Oh, Misha Harnik. I also live on Elting Avenue. So I think I've said it already before that unfortunately, I don't think that much more damage could be done at Elting. But there are many areas in New Paltz where I think just having the planning board making decisions whether something is right or correct or pleasing to build is not enough. And having this wonderful group of these people on the preservation committee be able to give an input both to the planning committee, which I think has a very narrow vision, as well as the person who wants to make any changes or even just build a whole house, should be extremely valuable. So I hope this is going to pass.
Thank you, Misha.
Thanks, Misha.
We'll leave it open.
So we will leave it open, and our next meeting is scheduled for the second Wednesday in May. Okay, the next.
It's May 11th.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yep,
Thank
7
you.
o'clock. I did.
We want to take this opportunity to highlight climate equity or justice related items or updates. Otherwise, I can jump in. So is Eve Walter here? Is she on the call?
Is on the call.
Oh, great.
Hello.
Hi, Eve.
Hi.
Wearing your county legislator hat, you're gonna touch base with us, tell us what's going on up in Canada.
Yeah. So I assume, I cannot imagine you are not on top of the water and sewer grant. So I just want to make sure, though, that you are, and realize that the deadline for the pre-application is May 16th. You stop me if you already know all this.
No, it's great to May
Okay.
16th, and yeah, if you want to share any details,
Sure.
I have an understanding of what's going on because we've been in regular contact with folks at the county, but yeah, I mean, fill us in in case we missed
Sure.
anything.
So last month, there was a legislation, the legislature approved to set aside about $5 million of the ARP money going to the county to be used as, and I use the word sensitively, matching funds for municipalities. It's not really matching in that it's not 50-50. It'll fund up to 33% of the cost for water and sewer projects. There's a list of what's eligible on the website, and I can add it to the chat if you don't have it. And basically they have a pre-application that they are asking for by May 16th. So it's much shorter. And then once they review the pre-application, certain people will be invited to do a full application. Only one per municipality. And like I said, they have on their website all of the different eligibility issues and fact sheets. But you know, it's a pretty good amount of money. Not every municipality.
I found this on the web.
Yeah, that was my watch. Just found something on the web. You know, one of my concerns, I'm very supportive of this for New Paltz. My concern, which is a benefit for New Paltz, I suppose, is that not every municipality even has an existing water sewer system. And so they're not really going to be able to apply unless they're really planning on creating a brand new water or sewer system. So I think we're in a good place. I think the fact that you're already doing a whole bunch of work and you're probably pretty clear of what your needs are going to work in your favor. So the maximum amount is 500,000. And again, that needs to be no more than 33% of the full cost. But I believe, you know, the other sides of the cost can be covered by other things. So with the grant that you have, it might allow you to, you know, get more out of it.
Yeah, that's my understanding and kind of why we pivoted. And we actually think that we have a really good opportunity in that we have money from the Environmental Facilities Corp. We received a $3 million award for a $5 million project. So locally, we have to come up with $2 million. So if we can apply for a $500,000 award from the county, that would be absolutely fantastic and make our treasurer happy if we only had to contribute $1.5 million from our water fund, as far as, you know, what we would expect from local ratepayers. And, you know, I think what's also interesting about this opportunity is that it was explained to me that these projects have to be done within 2 years. And, you know, you cannot do a water and sewer project in less than 24 months unless you have a ton of tailwind and work already done. So that's another reason why we would want to use the project that we've been working on now for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And we hope to probably complete it in the next 2 years.
And I would stress that, make sure that they're clear about that, you know, that the challenge of the 2 years is that we have to spend the ARP money. There's rules around that. So I think the more you can make it clear that they will have no trouble spending this money with you, I think will serve in your favor. Because yes, you're right. I think that other municipalities are going to have a harder time necessarily sort of being clear that they'll be able to spend that money in such a short amount of time. So that's that one. And do you have, I could just put, I don't know who's personing the chat, but I
We
can't.
don't usually use the chat.
Yeah, I can't. So it's basically ulstercountynewyork.gov/ARP/water-sewer. And that'll give you the pre-app PDF and, you know, eligibility and all that other stuff.
That's great.
Got it.
Yeah. So the next thing was is the no fault eviction resolution. We're faced with this odd challenge where I don't even know how this came in front of the county ethics board, but somehow it did. And the ethics board made this insane kind of decision that any legislator who's either a landlord or a tenant cannot speak towards this in one way or another in favor or against. There are efforts to fix this, but until it is fixed, as someone who happens to have, I fall under landlord because I own a property that my aunt rents. But I feel like I'm safe in saying that when I saw the county resolution, my only concern was, and I think back of like when New Paltz has come up with its own decisions about plastic bags, for example, the county would come up with something that's not as restrictive as New Paltz, and so it almost undermines that way. That I want to make sure that you all saw the county's language to make sure that it didn't undermine any of the work you're doing. Because I think that can sometimes happen in that, you know, it doesn't recognize sort of the efforts and works. And the reason why that's important to me is because in the end of the day, it's going to fall on you all. Even if it's a county law, you're the one who's going to hear about it and hear the complaints and hear the problems. So I just need to know from you all whether there's any elements of the proposed law that you might feel would complicate the work you're already doing in this area. That's it. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And if it's a matter of adding a sentence or a word to help that whatever flexibility. Again, you know.
So, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, it reads, I think, great, and it includes a sentence in there about, you know, home rule and, you know, on uncertain things, and there definitely could be room, you know, if there's a more narrow thing that's very village specific, like that definitely isn't impacted by the language, the last version of it that, you know, you guys were all considering. You know, if anything, it would be very helpful for the county and for other entities like the county and the state to take action, you know, in this way to, you know, protect our tenants in ways that we've come up against different walls, you know, because we're a village, limited resources in how to go ahead and passing this kind of legislation. It would be very helpful if the county would take action.
That's great. And so I hope the rest of you had a chance to look at it. Again, it's more of that sort of unexpected. For example, if it's pushing you to do something that for, you know, I recognize that you had made the decision to hold off and allow the state to come down with their own. So just again, just to make sure that it's not in any way going to put you in an awkward or difficult position, you know, and not that I see how it would. I just, like I said, sometimes the best laid plans end up on a county level, creating a problem on a village level that, you know, was not foreseen. And so and again, it's not that I see those problems. I just want to make sure that if implemented, you feel like this is not going to create some kind of challenge for you. I
mean, to be clear too, we weren't waiting on the state. What the issue is because there's various lawsuits against local municipalities working on very similar legislation and whatnot, that those lawsuits would impact what we pass. The lawsuit in our district, the issue is about, in our, like, you know, court district, the issue is the takings clause. So because we're a village, we're not a city, we're not a county, we're not a state, we can't afford, you know, to go into these legal battles. So we're taking a step back, continuing to work on it, you know, however we can, but, you know, we need to see how those kind of come out. So it's not waiting for the state. That being said, if the state wanted to go ahead and, you know, protect tenants' rights, we'd be fine with that, you know, and same with the county. If the county would just go ahead and do the work that, you know, we spent a year and a half of our lives, all of us working really hard through before getting to this wall, you know, because again, we're a teeny tiny little village.
Well, I think that's my point, Alex, is that the difference between when it's written from a state, it's those in the state shall, when it's written from the county, it's written as municipality shall. And so you had your reasons why it was not, because you're a small municipality, not wanting to proceed with your own, but the language in this may be telling you you need to do something as a municipality. So that's the kind of thing I just want you to watch out, that there's no wording in there that for your very reason of needing to not create one as a village, whether this is forcing your hand in that way, in a way, so that you can know, I'm just asking you to read it to be clear that it's not expecting you to do something that for good reason you had decided you needed to not do at this stage. That's all. Because
yeah, I came to this meeting prepared for that exact question. Actually, I'm glad that you brought it up that way and framed it that way. Just because the issue, again, with our pause was with pending litigation. If we were to pass our own piece of legislation, that would impact how that piece of legislation is. If the county passes it, regardless of how it says, we would have to, enact, and follow and abide by and whatnot. That doesn't mean we'll get sued. That's not how that works.
Well, it's not saying that you'll abide by it, it's that you'll accept this as your own. And so again, I just would
same risk doesn't exist for us at all. It would achieve the goals of passing the law without us getting into any of that legal risk.
Great. Well, if you want to confirm with your attorneys or talk about it just to make sure, but I don't, I know how important this is. I just, again, want you to be very clear that the wording is not in a way that puts you in a position that you didn't realize it would put you in.
Could a resolution from us be helpful in helping you all push this forward? We started drafting one with lots of great facts.
I don't think that's necessary. I mean, at this point, for me, I need to have the ethics board or somehow allow me to actually vote. And the other part is to have clarity from the whole village board that you feel completely comfortable with this in its exact wording, or because it's at this stage, or any change. I mean, it's not even a public hearing yet. So that's all I'm saying, is to be very clear that you're comfortable with its wording and not looking for any other kinds of caveats or additions or subtractions.
Do you all have any other thoughts on the county proposed good cause law? For right now, we'll leave here.
I hope they pass it.
You can get to me another time on it.
Well, I think the other important thing that you also emphasized is we are waiting to see what happens in the litigation instances in the city of Albany and now also Newburgh, right?
Yeah.
So that should, if those decisions shake out in a particular way, we could end up feeling more comfortable with adopting our own local law, independent of whether the state does or whether the county does.
Right. And I guess it's also that because, then just the wording somehow, how does that preempt or get in the way or complicate your own? So it's just looking at it from all sides, just to make sure you're comfortable. If I hear that you're all, not just at this moment, but after you process the question, you're all feeling good, then I will take that to heart. Because like I said, for me on this vote, should I ever get a chance to vote, it's really going to be on the will of the municipality, as far as I'm concerned. And so, because in the end, you're the ones who have tenants and the landlords. They're in the county, but you're the one who are going to have to hear what's working and what's not working. They're going to come to your meetings and complain or thank you. So I feel like I have to be sure I'm representing the will of the village board.
Eva, I'm just curious, who sits on the county ethics board? Are they legislators or are they
No, they're appointed. Interestingly, the most recent appointment was Gerald Benjamin. I don't know how the votes went on anything. It's pretty crazy. I mean, it almost means you can vote on anything. because I don't know what, like, how could we vote on this water sewer resolution technically when it's for municipalities and I drink the water and I use the paper and the pump? So I don't really know. It's pretty crazy.
I have a question about this ethics board ruling. Any way the same logic could be applied to everything then? You
That's
know,
what I
like,
just said. I
like
mean,
what about, yeah, that was a good example. But then I remember at your last meeting, like Legislator Erner, and you should tell with Robert, great point about what about everyone who drove their cars? Like in here in Utah, 93% of our greenhouse gas emissions come from the transportation sector. You know, what about that?
yeah, actually, I was going to use that as a reason why all those people shouldn't be allowed to vote, and I'd be one of the only people allowed to vote, and then I would have been on that one because I was one of the few people who did not support that resolution. So I thought that, yeah, and I honestly I don't even know the history of how this specific thing got to the ethics board. It's pretty, yeah. It's but just so you know, there is we are working on changes, resolutions, and policy changes that actually impact that the structure and the system of that ethics board, and you know, because, but yes, so hopefully this gets sorted out very soon, because it's crazy.
Yeah, it's really bonkers too, because there's one part in the, sorry to dwell on this, but I got to point out how bonkers this ethics board letter is. Like in the first part of it, it's like, is it opinion of the board that a legislator who owns and or rents real property is subject to the proposed regulation and therefore has a conflict of interest, and they should recuse themselves. But then after that, it switches to, you know, making it clear it's landlord or tenant. Yeah. But in the first paragraph, it's like, even if you have any, like that describes every person, like you're either own or you don't own and you rent. That describes everybody on the legislature.
No doubt. It's just that, you know, to keep in mind that if we ignore it, then someone could challenge whatever vote we end up making. And so it's not necessarily beneficial to just, you know, risk somebody calling us up against the ethics board because we went against it, because that could undermine the whole process. I mean, it's really crazy, but hopefully we'll sort it out soon. And what else do I have for you? The Crisis Stabilization Center, we found a location in Kingston to put the Crisis Stabilization Center. It'll be, if you ever have or recently have been to the hospital on Broadway, there's a professional arts building right next to it. There is a walkway between the two, although the other building is not Westchester Health Alliance at all. It's a separate building. So that's the building, and it'll have other mental health services, but it'll also have a crisis stabilization center. They're still looking for locations for the respite houses, which would be 7 to 10 days for substance abuse and mental health. We passed a resolution to create a land bank, which is pretty exciting. And so we'll have to get state approval for that. So anyone who has contacts in the state and you know, we need to get that support. Anything else really relevant? Do you have anything on your mind that you remember that we're talking about?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah. Oh,
What about that? Go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing was there is a resolution, it keeps getting postponed, but in terms of occupancy tax and raising the occupancy
Oh,
tax
right. Mm-hmm.
for hotels, motels, and Airbnb. And you know, I mean, it might be more town of New Paltz. I think I guess Mohonk is town, but you know, just to maybe, I don't know, chime in on whether I mean, well, on either, on the occupancy tax rate going up for short-term rentals, I shouldn't say Airbnb, but any short-term rentals, and then a different one for hotels and motels, and whether you foresee any concerns or related to that.
Okay, I have a question about the overage of sales tax revenue that was received beyond what was budgeted, because the sales tax agreement says that the city and the county would deliberate on providing some of that overage and sharing it differently than the way it's currently shared. I know the Mayors and Supervisors Association had previously asked, instead of splitting it the way the sales tax agreement reads, take the overage and provide 25% of the overage and share it with the 23 towns and villages who currently would only receive 3% of the 4% sales tax that the county gets and the city gets.
Yeah. So at this point, when I informally brought it up to the executive's office, they said it's not going to happen. I think that what it needs to have, and maybe this should come from unified again from the supervisors and mayors group, but I think waiting a little bit, because the actual, well, I guess by now,
the sales tax agreement says that they should have been
2020. It's also, it has to be 2022, and 2022 is not over because that was put in.
No. It's already over.
It was written for 2021.
The comptroller has already identified the amount of.
Oh, you mean over that?
We've already written a letter. We've already written a letter as the Supervisors Association addressing all of them.
I mean, I feel like the best time to bring it up will be during budget time. And so I'm happy to carry a resolution, associated, because that's the time when they're going to think about the allocation, which isn't too far from now.
What was the explanation that you received when you inquired about it and they said it's not going to happen? I don't understand, why do you need a windfall that you never anticipated getting and you're not willing to share with the municipalities who don't participate at all in the sales tax? I mean, I got the garbage cans on Main Street here to prove how much commerce that we're involved in.
I agree. So I think that it's the executive's office is going to always, as you know, try to hold on to every penny it's got. And so
I didn't know that. That's news to me. That seems curious because it doesn't seem like it's like taxation without representation. That's what
I agree, and I was the one who brought it up. And I also know that we have not allocated what to do with the excess money, and it's there. And so I think that let me go back to my caucus and figure out the best timing for representing this. That's the other challenge, is knowing that that in my caucus there is support for this. I think that some of us are strongly in favor based on when I had brought it up and I fought for it last time around. I can't say that all of my fellow legislators were fully in support of it. And so that becomes the other challenge. I'm not sure why. I think if the supervisors put more pressure on them, it would be different.
Yeah. I think it would be greatly appreciated by the property tax paying public, who includes renters and property owners in communities like ours. We would greatly appreciate some sort of assistance and sharing of sales tax differently than the current sales tax agreement. And
yeah, I hear you, and believe me, I've been I've had issues with it from the get-go, even before I was elected, of that, even the distribution that's established, because I feel like it's very unfair. So I will bring it back to them. I'm happy to put something forward towards it. I just it would be much easier to have it, it's more likely to happen if I know I have support in my, among the other legislators. So I will talk to them about it and see where they're at.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, anything else?
No, thanks for taking the time. It's really appreciated to have this
Sorry.
direct line with our rep in the county ledge.
Sure. Sorry, I missed 2 weeks ago. Got it.
It's the best of us.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank you.
bye.
Okay, so does anyone want to introduce this resolution regarding Arbor Day?
Hello.
Great.
So the Shade Tree Commission has a resolution for Arbor Day event, which is taking place this Saturday. It's the 150th anniversary of the Arbor Day holiday and the 50th anniversary of the Arbor Day Foundation. Whereas the village has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation for over 35 years, which is very impressive. And I just want to say a special thank you to our Shade Tree Commission, who for pretty much all the years it has been in existence has done some really great work. So the Village of New Paltz hereby proclaims Saturday, April 30th, 2022 as Arbor Day in recognition of this event. And we urge all citizens to plant, protect, care for trees so that they may be enjoyed by this and future generations. There is the Arbor Day event is in the park. But yes, so be it further resolved that we urge all citizens to plant, protect, and care for trees so that they may be enjoyed by this and future generations. Oh, proclaim Saturday. Aren't they having an event this Saturday? I just
2 to 3:30.
right. Okay, the information wasn't in front of me, so that's why I didn't see it. From 2
2 to 3:30.
2 to 3:30, right outside of Village Hall in Peace Park. And there's going to be some education about pruning trees, how to care for your trees. I think it's going to be a great little event. And
And that's on Saturday.
yes.
Did you make a motion to move the
I
resolution?
motion to move this resolution.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So under our water and sewer topic, we are working on a draft letter regarding the grant award that we received before COVID. This was a grant award from the Water Quality Improvement Program. And basically what we did is we applied for assistance that we could provide to property owners in the village of New Paltz who have sewer laterals that may be failing. So there may be issues with I&I or pollution if an individual's service line between the sewer main in their street and their home is being compromised. I mean, it's a pretty common problem. Many people try to kick the can down the road and use a snake to keep the lines open. But the best thing to do is to replace those old and failing sewer laterals. And what we did was we identified a couple of streets in the village where property owners may have this risk, and the plan would be to go ahead and contact those property owners and see about being able to update their sewer laterals. So we have a draft letter to share with those property owners about how this program will work. So we're pretty excited about being able to provide this assistance to our property owner. Motion to, well, there's no action that needs to be taken. I was really just kind of sharing this as what we've been working on update. The next item is a notice of award for water main replacement on Huguenot Street. So Roy's Construction bid, and they were the low bid of $532,400, which includes $400,000 field change allowance and $40,000 archaeological standby payment allowance. So motion to accept the award from the low bid of Roy's Construction.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the next item has to do with American Rescue Plan funds that we received based on the number of people who live here. Unfortunately, it did not include the fact that we actually have a water and sewer system and an enormous amount of property off the tax rolls. But if you look at the ARP money that we received, it's approximately $728,000. So we received our first slug already, and then we anticipate receiving the second half of the 728 in June. But very easy for us to share with the federal government how we will be able to use these ARP funds, because we are simply using it to replace the lost revenue during the pandemic for water and sewer. We had very significant losses in our water fund. It's pretty easy for folks to wrap their heads around because the dorms were only 43% full. So we just had not nearly as much revenue as we would normally receive. So we could do things like pay down water debt and make sure that our plant was running correctly. And what we had initially thought about doing with this ARP money is taking approximately $41,000 and providing it to our essential workers. It's basically all staff who works for the village except for the elected officials. And we made those payments to the staff, but from a bookkeeping or accounting point of view, it's just easier if we pay that that additional money to the folks via our regular general fund and not do it through the ARP. But fortunately, I guess, and unfortunately, it's easy for us to do because we have so much lost revenue. The ARP money will not cover the lost revenue that we actually realized as a result of COVID and all the softness in terms of water and sewer usage during that time. So this is that's my motion to use the ARP the ARP money for the water and sewer funds.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And next item, affordable housing, advise the planning board whether the board of trustees feels it can grant the applicant the density bonus under the exemption in Village Code section 132-3C1. So this we received some counsel from our attorney about this, and it seemed pretty complicated, but then when we spoke to them, it seems pretty straightforward in terms of going ahead and what am I drawing a blank on? Because this relates to the conversation that we had with Rick Goldman, right?
Yeah, granting the density bonus.
Right. Okay. So this is the thing, right? So what's interesting about our code is that for years and years and years, we have had a density bonus for developers who are constructing senior housing. And the only density bonus that we have in our code now is for affordable units. So if you do the calculation in terms of the number of units that the developers for Manheim Muse could construct, it seems logical to include the senior bonus as well as the affordable housing bonus, because it kind of speaks to our sensibility, and that means that the the project would include, I believe it's 52 units, and I can't remember whether or not.
It was 51, one of
51
which would
plus.
be for the, did it go up?
No, 51
Yeah.
plus 1 for the manager.
I thought the one was it was 50
So that
units
is 50
plus
plus 1.
one.
Okay,
for the
thank you
manager.
for that clarification. 51, including the manager.
Right.
So what we could consider as a board is to say, yes, that was the intention of the village board when those codes were written, that you would interpret the calculation to, based on what they're trying to do, have a total of 50 units, as opposed to punting it back to the ZBA, because that is what we did when they asked for a height variance. And we felt like that was kind of undermines our volunteer boards. Like the reason we have a planning board and ZBA is to deliberate on those kind of ideas, but this feels like it's related to our work.
Yeah.
And that's why we are. So I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and grant that waiver.
Second.
I'm not sure if I'm using the right word, or it seems like it's grant the applicant the density bonus under the exemption. So granting, so it's not a waiver.
Yeah.
So we second, all in favor?
Aye.
I think that was a good explanation of it.
Yeah.
Too, like this is our decision because it's about the spirit of the law. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas we don't want to be in the business of making land use decisions, because that's why we have a planning board and a CBA.
Exactly.
Motion to move bills and claims.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any PB liaison update?
Sure. Planning board met, discussed 3 items at the last meeting, which was last week. The project at 5 Plattekill, the Brian Keegan project. Keenan, sorry. His Cuddy's expansion that's been approved. The resolution is going to be presented at the next meeting. There's a major renovation at 218 Main Street. It's sort of a nondescript building near the near the vet's office. They're doing a major renovation to turn into a office space for attorney's practice and a real estate practice. That also went before the Historic Preservation and Design Committee, and they didn't see any issues with it other than perhaps to address the glazing on the A-frame shaped windows. And then the last item was just a public hearing to be set for 17 Church Street, which is basically going to become more of a game room, a board game room than anything else. They're just looking to add games to their business. And that's it.
Want me to do ZBA?
Yes, please.
ZBA has not met, but I would like to put out again, if anybody's wanting to help volunteer for the village, we could really use more ZBA members. And ZBA meets on the second Tuesday of every month. It's not usually a very long meeting. It's not a crazy huge commitment. And it would really help out. We're low on members.
I don't think we have anything else. Is that correct? Should we motion to adjourn? That's my motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Good night.
And